Today we're talking about preparing for marriage. And I feel that, a lot of engaged couples these days focus solely on their wedding day. But seriously, I want to encourage you to spend, your engagement thinking about a strong lifelong marriage and the responsibilities and the challenges that it comes with it. So please make sure your ears are glued to the TV sets, especially if you're about to, tie the knot, walk down the aisle. We have Pastor Victor Kumpe and Akosua Jema right here in my mustard seats as usual. And they are feeling very, very inspirational. And I can see the vim in you guys. Or am I lying?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so Akosua, you have never been married.
No.
What do you think the meaning of, marriage is? What does it mean to you?
Well, to my own, understanding, I see marriage to be a man and a woman coming together, okay? Getting themselves involved in this holy wedlock, which God is asking us to do.
Right.
Okay. So it comes in so many ways. How do you see marriage? Are you ready to position yourself as a wife and submit as God is asking us to do?
Right.
And a man, you leading a home and not ruling a home. Because God is asking us that a man should love a wife and then the wife should submit. As Christ is the body of the church and the church subjects to God.
Right.
So the man, you stand in as the one who is for God, and then the wife is the church. Somehow we have to subject, yes, or submit.
I've never heard it, explained like that.
Yes.
It sounds way simpler than what some of the pastors have been teaching.
Exactly.
I think that's you should be a pastor. You should. And a very good looking one you would be. Now, Pastor, what about you? What do you think? Is it God who created marriage, or is it man who created this whole, marriage thing?
Okay. Biblically, we are told that the first marriage was conducted in the Garden of Eden, and that was by God himself.
Right.
It was God who first said that it was not good for the man to be alone. Therefore, he created a suitable helper for him. So, marriage is that union between the man and the woman.
Right.
According to the plan of God.
Right. Okay. Now, if you're confused, please make sure you're calling us when we open the phone lines. All right. My guests are very experienced. We have a pastor here and Akosua, who obviously is looking to get married someday, because you're not just going to be in a relationship. But tell me, do you think that people in serious relationships are just ready for marriage? Is it everyone who's in a serious relationship who needs to get married?
Yeah, Movie, you have said it all. I think this time we are getting into marriage because we see marriage to be a stage in life. When one pursues education, the next thing is that you have to see yourself in marriage.
Right.
But I think we haven't really taken into consideration what God is asking us to do. As a wife, submitting, and then a man, you being a leader in your home, you taking the responsibility, because it says Christ sacrificed for us. So you have to take that responsibility of getting married to a woman and you leading a home. Right. So when there are certain things that are scarce in the house, you should be able to provide. And then you, the wife, should subject, or you have to submit. You show that kind of humility. Okay. So we are getting married, but we haven't really coming to terms to what Christ is asking us to do.
Right.
But we think it's just a stage in life that we all have to get into.
Right.
So we are marrying cheap and then we are divorcing cheap.
Ooh.
Because most of the youth especially don't really understand. We just get ourselves into counseling when we think we are done with courtship, and then we have to get married.
Right.
But I think we should immediately you realize that you are ready for it. When the readiness comes, or when you think about marriage, then it means you are ready to position yourself as God is asking us to do.
Okay.
So we need that counseling for years.
Right.
When even you are still in school, maybe you see yourself that after school you want to settle down.
Right.
Then the church should help us in counseling for so many. It shouldn't take only the period of when we want to tie knots.
Right.
So we are getting into marriage.
So they should prepare us for marriage,
Exactly.
basically.
Adequately.
Pastor,
Yeah.
tell me, well, I don't know how you feel about this, but most people who are engaged to be married think that this whole counseling thing is just a waste of time. It's a burden. It takes a whole lot of, months that they could be planning solely on how beautiful the dress should look and all of that. What do you have to say to somebody who thinks that counseling, marriage counseling, is a waste of time?
Yes, I think many people do think it's a waste of time. Somebody illustrated this way. It says there's a mountain, and then people are climbing, and below the mountain there are always fatalities. People fall from the mountain,
Yes.
They break their legs, they break their hairs, there are all manner of things happening. And so somebody comes, there's a hospital by, and they keep carrying people to the place, in this state.
Right.
So the doctor decides that no, something must be done. He comes to the mountainside. He thinks that it is important that you get somebody to train people who are going to climb the mountain,
Right.
provide them with the right kind of footwear for them to use for this climbing, and give them some tidbits.
Yeah.
So counseling basically
It's to prevent the fall.
is to prevent the fall. Or even if there's the fall, the heads will not be, it should not be breaking off the heads.
Yeah.
Maybe slight wounds here and
Bruise,
there,
yeah.
because pre-marriage counseling per se is not going to insure you against everything in marriage. You need to be in marriage to come to terms with reality.
Right.
Yes, but it does give you some knowledge of the things to expect in marriage.
Right.
So when you get married, and then you have an in-law visiting, you know what to do, and you know what to expect, and you just don't go there and said somebody told you that all in-laws are witches and wizards, and therefore you stand somewhere and begin to
Right.
peep and see what your mother-in-law is doing. Those kind of things. So when you are getting ready to marry, you need to know yourself very well.
Right.
What are you looking for in marriage?
Right. So you have to evaluate yourself, you're saying.
Very important.
Okay.
Then if you know what you are looking for, then you also want to look at the man you want to marry or the woman you want to marry. Do they have what I'm looking for?
Right.
And then you ask yourself, my expectations, are they realistic? So assess your expectations
Right.
very well before you enter. Then what is marriage itself? What is love? These are things that we need to engage in, young ones need to engage in. There are many people who are ready to marry who do not understand what love is.
Right.
And they are marrying because of,
Yeah,
I want to marry you. Oh, you are a beautiful looking lady. So is that all there is?
But I'm sure that attracts you men first, doesn't it? I mean, the outer appearance. Look at your wife; she's gorgeous. You can't tell me that you didn't look at her first
Of course.
before you got to know her. So I think it's quite
Men
important.
are creatures of the eye. Yes, they are definitely attracted by what they see. And therefore, if a man marries a woman who he can say is not attracted to physically, then I'm afraid for such a relationship.
Right.
Yeah, so it's very important,
Right.
but that should not be all.
The sole reason. I
That should not be
agree.
all.